Every year, there is a stretch of time when last season's stored food is running low, and the new season hasn't produced anything yet. Historically, this period was known as the hunger gap, late winter into early spring, when root cellars are nearly empty and most fresh crops are still months away from harvest. It's not that plants aren't growing, it's that almost nothing edible is ready. Fruit trees are just beginning to form buds. Strawberries haven't flowered. Blueberries are still weeks away from setting fruit. Even in modern agriculture, this is one of the lowest points of seasonal nutritional availability. Fresh sources of vitamin C and antioxidants are scarce during this window, especially in colder regions where citrus cannot grow locally. Most fruit crops are designed to avoid this risk entirely. They flower late, wait for stable temperatures, and ripen safely into summer. But there is this fruit that does something unusual. Its name is the honeyberry. Instead of waiting for warmth, it races ahead of the season, ripening in late May or early June, often before strawberries have even begun to turn red. It arrives when almost nothing else does. So how does a fruit manage to flower this early without losing its entire harvest to spring frost? Well, we know it. A few warm afternoons in March can push fruit trees to break dormancy. Buds swell, blossoms open, orchards that looked lifeless only weeks earlier suddenly turn white and pink. It feels like the season has safely arrived, until the temperature drops again overnight. For apples, peaches, and cherries, that single cold snap can wipe out an entire crop. Once the blossom tissue freezes, fruit never forms. The tree survives, the harvest doesn't. Honeyberry operates on a different calendar. Its flower buds are formed the previous year and enter winter already prepared. When temperatures begin to rise slightly, the plant moves early. The blossoms themselves can tolerate cold down to about -7 degrees Celsius without significant damage, far below the threshold that would destroy many conventional fruit crops. The plant's woody stems, once fully dormant, are capable of surviving extreme winter lows approaching -47 degrees Celsius, which is why it is commonly grown in regions classified as USDA Zones 2 through 7. This cold tolerance is not just about surviving winter, it's about confidence in early spring, because it can handle frost events that would devastate other orchards. Honeyberry flowers weeks earlier than blueberries or strawberries. In many climates, it is one of the first fruiting shrubs to bloom. That early schedule carries a secondary advantage. Fewer insect pests are active that early in the year. Many common berry pests simply have not emerged yet, which reduces pressure on developing fruit. But early blooming introduces a new biological constraint. Honeyberries are not self-fertile. They require cross-pollination between compatible cultivars to produce a meaningful harvest. And during cold spring days, standard honeybees are often inactive. Pollination typically relies on hardier species such as bumblebees, which can forage in lower temperatures, along with certain early-season flies. The plant accepts the risk of an unpredictable spring and leans into it, flowering when others wait, which works in its favor only if the environment around it can keep up. That same pattern of adapting to harsh conditions shows up again once you look below the surface, where soil chemistry decides whether most berries survive at all. For instance, blueberries are a well-known example. In the wild, they evolved in acidic, nutrient-poor environments such as peat bogs and sandy forest soils. Their root systems are adapted to absorb minerals efficiently under those specific conditions, particularly when soil pH falls between 4.5 and 5.5. Outside that range, the plant struggles to access key nutrients like iron, even when those nutrients are present in the soil. In neutral or slightly alkaline soils, iron becomes chemically unavailable to the blueberry's roots. The leaves begin to yellow in a process known as iron chlorosis, reducing the plant's ability to photosynthesize effectively. Over time, growth slows, fruit production drops, and the plant weakens. To prevent this, growers often amend the soil repeatedly with elemental sulfur or peat moss to maintain the required acidity. Without that ongoing adjustment, the plant can gradually starve. Honeyberry responds differently. It tolerates a much broader pH range, typically between 5.0 and 8.0, which includes many common garden soils that blueberries would find unsuitable. This tolerance is supported by a shallow fibrous root system that spreads laterally through the upper soil layers. Instead of relying on highly specific chemical conditions, the roots are able to access available nutrients across a variety of soil textures, including clay, silt, and sandy soils, without extensive amendment. In heavier clay soils, where drainage is slower and oxygen availability can fluctuate, many berry crops struggle to establish. Honeyberry's root structure allows it to persist in these conditions with minimal intervention. Once established, the plant can maintain growth in soil types that would otherwise require ongoing correction for more sensitive fruit species. But how long does it actually take before this adaptability turns into a meaningful harvest? You see, long-lived plants often come with an assumption that productivity begins quickly. Plant it this season, harvest the next. With honeyberry, the timeline is slower, even though the plant establishes itself early. After planting a dormant shrub, the first year is typically spent building root structure rather than producing fruit. During this period, the plant focuses on anchoring itself and expanding its shallow, fibrous root system through the surrounding soil. This foundation allows it to draw moisture and nutrients efficiently in later seasons. By the second or third year, light fruiting may begin, depending on the cultivar and growing conditions. These early harvests are usually modest, enough to confirm that pollination has occurred, but not enough for significant yield. As the plant continues to mature into its fourth and fifth years, production becomes more consistent. Flowering increases, cross-pollination improves, and fruit set becomes more reliable across the shrub. Once established beyond the fifth or sixth growing season, a mature honeyberry bush can produce approximately 2 to 4 kilograms of fruit per year under suitable conditions. This level of output can continue for decades, as the plant's lifespan may extend up to 50 years when properly maintained. Maintenance during the early years is minimal. However, as the shrub ages, interior wood can become dense, limiting airflow and light penetration. Periodic pruning after about 5 years, particularly the removal of older shaded branches, helps maintain fruit size and supports consistent yields across subsequent seasons. The plant's longevity is closely tied to how well this maturing structure is managed, though even a well-formed harvest introduces another limitation once the fruit is picked. Well, honeyberries develop with an extremely thin outer skin. Unlike firmer fruits that have a protective cuticle, the surface of a ripe honeyberry offers very little structural support once it separates from the stem. During harvest, the point where the fruit detaches often leaves behind what botanists describe as a wet scar, an open site where moisture can escape. Under gentle handling, this is not immediately noticeable. But when fruit is collected in larger volumes, the problem becomes physical. Stacked in deep containers, the weight of upper layers presses down on the berries beneath. With limited resistance from the skin, the lower fruit begins to deform under pressure. Juice can leak from the wet scar, softening the surrounding fruit and accelerating breakdown. Within a short period, the bottom of a container may shift from intact berries to crushed pulp. Fresh shelf life reflects this sensitivity. At room temperature, honeyberries typically remain stable for only a few days after harvest. Even under refrigeration, their storage window is relatively short compared to firmer berries that can tolerate transport across longer distances. Modern supply chains are designed around durability. Fruits selected for commercial distribution often require skins that can withstand mechanical harvesting, bulk handling, and extended transit without significant damage. Honeyberries, by contrast, respond poorly to these conditions. But then, the qualities that allow them to develop delicate, juice-rich flesh in the field become a limitation once they leave it. A limitation that begins to matter most when storage becomes necessary. You see, when a honeyberry is picked, the fruit often separates from the stem with what botanists call a wet scar. This is a small opening left behind at the point of detachment where the plant tissue has not sealed over. Unlike fruits with thicker skins, this exposed area allows moisture to escape more easily once the berry is off the plant. Combined with its thin outer surface, this makes the fruit highly sensitive to pressure and air exposure after harvest. Even small amounts of handling can lead to softening around that opening, especially when berries are stored together in containers. At room temperature, this limits how long they remain intact. Under refrigeration, they may last a few days, though they are best used soon after picking if kept fresh. Freezing changes that completely. When honeyberries are frozen shortly after harvest, the low temperature slows down the natural processes that cause vitamins and plant pigments to break down. Compounds such as anthocyanins, responsible for the berry's deep purple color, are better preserved when stored at freezing temperatures than when left in fresh storage for extended periods. Vitamin C, which can degrade when exposed to air and warmth, is also retained more effectively under cold storage. In practice, this means the fruit can be harvested during its short fresh window and stored for months without major loss of nutritional value. What limits it in transport becomes far less of a concern when it is frozen for later use. That approach works best when the plant is established correctly from the beginning, which starts with how it is grown. Growing from seed is technically possible, but it introduces variability that can take years to reveal itself. Honeyberries are not reliably true to seed, which means offspring may not carry the same fruit quality as the parent plant. Some seedlings can take up to 5 years to produce fruit, and the resulting berries may differ in flavor or size from selecting cultivars. Dormant plants or nursery-grown plugs provide a more consistent starting point. These are propagated from known varieties that have already been selected for fruit quality and cold tolerance. Planting is typically done in early spring or late fall, allowing the root system to establish under moderate soil temperatures. Pollination also requires planning. Honeyberries are not self-fertile. A single plant can produce flowers, but may not set fruit without pollen from a compatible variety blooming at the same time. Planting at least 2 different cultivars in proximity allows cross-pollination to occur more reliably during the flowering period. Combinations such as Aurora with Borealis or Indigo Gem with the Beast are commonly recommended due to overlapping bloom times. After planting, a layer of mulch helps regulate soil moisture and temperature around the shallow root system. Pest pressure tends to remain low, partly because fruit development occurs early in the season before many insect populations increase. When these conditions are in place, the plant's early flowering and short harvest window can be supported year after year, often long before other berries begin to ripen. And that's it. Now to you, if one plant could outlive decades of growing seasons and still fruit before strawberries every year, would you rather grow it or keep waiting for the store to stock it? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. As you leave a like, subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos like this one.